Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of Podcast of Five Rings, your source of enlightenment in the realm of video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast of Five Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and Soundcloud, and now topic by topic, day by day on YouTube, with the full video releasing on Friday. To catch updates about the podcast or for other news, give us a follow on your social media platform of choice listed in the description below. I'm your host, GM, and overseer of Podcast of Five Rings, Obsidian. Joined today by the wall that will not fall, Tetsuo.
The wall is not cattywampus.
You said it for me today.
Yep, gotta knock it out early.
That's good because I forgot about it completely. I just wasn't going to bring up the catchphrase at all. We got the resident wildcard, Mal.
Hello, everyone.
How's Mal doing today?
Oh, same old, same old.
Did you beat Prey yet?
No, I lost some progress, so I went and started a new video game.
Did you actually lose your save file, or are you just joking?
No, I just lost hours of it, so it disincentivizes me to keep going.
Did you just forget to save, or did it actually replaying on
No,
PC or PS4?
I'm on PS4, and it sent a key item of to progress through the wall, basically.
What?
And I had to go back to a manual save from hours ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That stinks.
I will say that is one thing I've noticed about the game, before we get into any of our topics for the day, just that it does seem to have a lot of things falling through walls, because I had that happen with enemies, oddly enough, but...
Yeah, I haven't had it happen on anything else, just that.
Well, that explains... Go ahead, Tets.
I was just going to say that I was able to throw a nightmare through a wall, which happened to also be one of the loading screen walls, so I don't know what happened to him.
Well, that explains why the speedrun is 10 minutes long if everything's literally going through a wall. Because that's what the speedrun was. I mean, I watched it, and it was literally the guy just clips through a wall, zips off through space. And basically
Yeah,
gets
I know
into
the glue gun will let you... There's a glue gun exploit that'll let you go through things that I thought about just using.
Yeah, he's glue gunning up into the corner and then just, basically clipping through the wall.
Yep.
We are also not joined this week by Meta, who is out sick today.
He's been struck low by a plague.
Yep. Good thoughts his way. He's had a rough few weeks here with getting sick and some other family stuff, so hopefully he'll be back with us next week when we get back to the mechanics of his favorite clan, the Crane.
How else am I supposed to get my typos if we don't have a meta around?
No one is going to understand that reference at all. So many typos. Alright, let's get right into the L5R stuff then. This week from FFG, we got a fiction, their first fiction, titled Her Father's Daughter. This is in reference to the Crane clan, the focus of the articles that FFG is running out in these next few weeks. And I guess we'll move on to another clan after that. Maybe the Crab. Maybe we'll go backwards.
I think there was one of the original boxes had it ordered Crane, then Crab, and then I think they're even alphabetical after that, weirdly.
Really?
So I don't know if someone messed up or what.
Somebody messed up and everybody else has just been going off of it since then?
Whatever. Powder blue's better than dark blue anyways.
Says you.
Yep, says me. This fiction was written by Dave Laderoute, who many people probably recognize as a former AG employee. He used to be the brand manager of the game and a writer for some of the RPG books, especially the 4th edition ones. I don't think he did any of the 3rd edition ones, but I could be wrong. And I know he was the head GM for Winter Court 3 and 4 at the very least. He may have been involved with the old ones too.
Hopefully they are now paying all the writers, they're paying all the writers, unlike the volunteers that made up a lot of AEGs.
Well, yeah, the AG people got cards and stuff, but maybe they'll get product too. I don't know how FFG does it. But anyways...
Well, hopefully they pay them actual money.
Yeah, sure.
Fantasy Flight.
Sure. So yeah, the fiction this week was focusing on the Crane clan and their champion, Doji Hotaru. So kind of a semi-introduction to the flavor of the Crane clan through the fiction. So the fiction starts off with Daidoji Narishima. He is part of an escort that is leading the Crane's taxes back to the capital city, Toshirambo. And a skirmish breaks out between the Crane clan and some Ronin, led by a former dragon samurai.
Wait.
Yeah, it's not Toshirambo, it's Otosanuchi.
Otosanuchi, sorry.
Yeah.
The Rambo does make a mention in the city being fought over.
I'm just now used to it being the new capital. They're heading to Otosanuchi to deliver taxes. The Crane Clan champion is traveling amongst them, Doji Hotaru. She comes out, she gets in basically a duel with this Ronin former dragon.
Yeah, because they are being attacked by peasants.
Yep, he is leading peasants against them because the peasants in this region are starving. They have no food.
Cranelands are in bad shape, apparently.
Yeah, from the tsunami.
Well, I assume this is through their lands?
Yeah, I think it was implied that the peasants specifically attacked them. They were the peasants in the area, so I think it's just a matter of whoever would have came through would have gotten robbed regardless.
Their caravan is attacked. Hotaru kills the Ronin leader, and they go about on their ways. And Narashima is kind of surprised to see that the champion is traveling with them, which kind of sets up the second half of the arc when you find out that Hotaru was trying to basically get into the capital city before anyone knew she was there because her father, the Emerald Champion, Doji Satsume, has died. And there's a bit of mystery going on. Some of the Emerald Magistrates are investigating the former Emerald Champion's death. He basically died under mysterious circumstances. They just found him dead. So when we shift the scene to Otosanuchi, Hotaru is visiting her younger sister, Shizue, and they basically talk about their father for a little bit. And then Kachiko enters, Baishi Kachiko, who is also Hotaru's lover. And they kind of they share some dialogue after Shizue leaves. And basically Hotaru kind of starts to suspect that the Scorpion could possibly be involved with her father's death somehow. So that's basically the fiction. It was pretty short.
11 pages.
Yeah, but it did a nice job of kind of introducing the Crane care about politics. They're very art focused.
Yeah, it shows her, she's looking at some flowers and
Ikebana arrangements. She compares the gardens of Otosanuchi to those of Kudendoji. Now the colors in Otosanuchi wouldn't be noticed by a normal samurai, but they're slightly off, unlike the pristine gardens of Kudendoji. So kind of setting up this thing about perfection. What were you saying, Tet? Sorry.
Just kind of the way that they worded that was kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, so it distinguishes the Crane as someone who pays attention to these kind of minute details when it comes to art and the presentation of things. They're all about perfection. I think the fiction did a really good job of that.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess back at the start, how do you feel about, or what do you think it shows as far as Hotaru's abilities, or not abilities, but her traveling in secret with a caravan and then accepting it? Basically, then they get in a fight and she accepts this duel with Nitin trained when tells no one else to help her.
It kind of, I think it's referenced later when Shizue basically says, sneaking into the city like this isn't something that your father would have done. He would have, just came in.
Yeah.
He would have made his presence known, but you're not really like him, are you, Hotaru? So it's kind of like, when she says that, it makes you think back to how she acted at the caravan a little bit. That was a nice little detail, I thought, because Satsume probably he would have just let everyone know that he was traveling through the lands. He wouldn't have done so in secret. And her kind of like stepping forth and doing that, I think was a little bit of showing how she was different than Satsume.
Right. Do you think it's naive on her part? Or especially the the accepting of a duel and not letting anyone help the current Crane champion? Like, you'd think the Crane champion should put more value on her life.
Well, yeah, it's risky.
Right. Just dueling some random samurai.
She does say, though, that like she appreciated what the Ronin was doing for the peasants, like that he was putting them first, and even though she couldn't necessarily, because of where she is in the Celestial Order, he was able to because of what his current position as Ronin was, and so therefore she specifically chose that path to take to allow him to die a samurai death.
Yeah,
it shows her current values, I guess, that she'd value this one person's honorable death over possibly, she could have screwed over the Crane immensely by dying, having two Crane champions die shortly back to back.
Yeah.
Probably not very good for them.
Naive with a touch of idealism is how I like to describe her. And again, this is reflected later on in her scene with Kachiko, because you can tell she wants to trust her lover, but at the same time, she has strong suspicions that her brother Hametsu a master of poison in the daimyo of the Shosuro family, could be the one behind her father's murder.
I hope they kind of red herring with the Scorpion a bit.
Oh, I agree.
I think that they'll probably set it up due to the because it's good conflict and whatnot. Kachiko, something will happen to where and betray Hotaru somehow.
Yeah,
that's the
obvious one, right?
Yeah, I hope it's like maybe they know who did it and are keeping it for reasons they feel are more superior or whatever. Like they have the right reason, obviously, and not the fact that they just actually killed him.
I'm with you there, but I feel like they might keep with it though, just to kind of introduce how the Scorpion operate. Like that would be a decent way to do it.
Well, again, I mean, like
what I was going to say,
keeping a major secret still.
Sure.
Yeah, because I think the biggest thing about the Scorpion is that it's duplicity upon duplicity upon duplicity, and so if it's the one that everybody expects of, oh, the Scorpion did it, that's so shallow compared to Scorpion work.
That's us expecting versus in-universe expecting.
Well, right. But I mean, like to a degree,
you can only like outwit people in real life so much.
No, agree. But that's what I'm saying is that maybe it's something else than what we initially think it is.
Right.
For that reason, I'm not saying to do the whole Scorpion.
But you can't say it's hard to like justify the Scorpion as existing based upon only doing what people don't expect, because then like even that gets expected then.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just what I'm saying. Like maybe it's just one step further than that. Not necessarily again, not shadows upon shadows and mirrors, but just by doing it one more time than we expect, it still sets that tone of, okay, that's something the Scorpion is capable of, but it's not all that they are.
And maybe we'll find out more when we see their fiction, because I bet it'll be revolving around either Shoju or Kachiko, more than likely. Maybe both of them. And then we'll probably learn more, maybe. I'd
imagine it's all going to be the champions for the first one.
Because you can tell Kachiko definitely knows something, right?
Yeah. Hotaru definitely showed enough presence of mind to turn down her offer of help, like even as infatuated as she is.
I do like that she is still kind of willing to put her duty beyond kind of what her heart says. This gets into the first thing I kind of like about the fiction. Katrina mentioned in the live stream last week that a lot of their storytelling they wanted to tell was going to be about the samurai versus themselves, kind of their strict code that they have to follow versus what they actually want. This was like a decent reflection of that, I thought, because, like you said, end of the part where Honor demands that she has to avenge her father, but she doesn't really want to because she blames Satsume for the death of her mother, right?
They definitely set up a lot of conflict in this one, too, and if it ends up being her lover has some role in it, then she has to be like, well, I don't really care about my dad, but honor dictates I should.
And Kuinon has already made these bold proclamations in front of witnesses saying whoever did this is going to pay in blood, right? So now she's basically honor bound to see that through, or she's going to cause her clan to lose face, right? So that was nice. Also, what Tets kind of touched on earlier, she knew basically that the Ronin wasn't acting dishonorably necessarily by wanting to help the peasants. So she kind of had that kind of inner dialogue with herself about that, but she knew that it was against the law, so it was obviously her duty to see that he was executed.
Yeah, she also had at some point she reflects on all the different troubles, at least concerning her clan, and how it connects to the various other clans.
Like they can't help the crab on the wall while they're being besieged.
Lion fighting. Although I saw some people were like, oh, well, I guess she literally cared zero about the unicorn or Phoenix, because they're not mentioning that.
Yeah, there could just be nothing going on with them right now.
Right.
There really isn't much conflict between the crane and the Phoenix or the unicorn.
Well, I mean, it was also partly that they just weren't mentioned like the other clans were in the first fiction.
Yeah.
Well, right, but I mean, all of those clans at one point or another were something that was traditionally crane conflict. I don't know that I ever really remember a time when they did do too terribly much with the Phoenix or the unicorn.
In the clan war, they were pretty buddy with the Phoenix. But the subtle thing I like about that one section of the fiction, another way it kind of introduces some crane themes and kind of how they operate, is she was concerned about how she couldn't be an ally to the other clans, because a lot of the crane's MO in court is to offer favors and be a friend to people who need help, and then to get them to owe them something. But they literally couldn't. They didn't have the
again, the tidal wave is, or tsunami.
They don't have the men or the resources to help these clans in their time of need.
The normally opulent Crane clan is on rough times, and now has a new leader that might not have any idea of how to fix that.
That was the good stuff. The one thing I really didn't like and kind of bothered me was that the whole skeleton, I guess, of how the conflicts are being set up is really samey to me. Because FFG said a lot of... Yeah, FFG's... I want to say this first. It's only the first fiction.
Yeah.
Stuff could drastically change from here. This is literally just my impression of the first thing. But FFG said a lot about how things would be same, but it'd be the same characters and like situations that we kind of know, but different. I mean, they go in different directions. And again, this is just the establishing thing, but I've liked to see a little bit more about how Hodori was different from Hodori. We got a little bit of like the Crane situation with the tsunami.
Right.
But I just wanted to see a little more, I guess.
She doesn't really have any reason to be different that much, at least at this point, from Hodori.
Yeah. Sure.
They've lived the same life up until this point. Although, I guess I saw someone saying that she might actually end up being more lonely overall, which may have be a better one more thing that drove her to Kachiko. Because I can't remember. I guess there was another doji that ended up being like a surrogate father to Hodori. But
that's Toshimoko.
Oh, Toshimoko.
Yeah, that guy.
Because he was.
They probably didn't have the same relationship.
They kind of implied, or at least that she's around Toshimoko a lot because she gets a lot of personal training from him.
No, she was being trained by her father.
Well, Toshimoko was there, and she mentions him as her
she
sensei.
Mentions that Toshimoko is her sensei. Her dad was just there for that scene because it says like Toshimoko is about to say something, and then her dad jumps in instead.
Yeah. So basically, Hodori and Toshimoko and the AG lore, they would often go out and womanize together.
Right.
Yeah.
So she's not getting. Yeah, she's not really a philanderer.
That relationship.
She's more personal. So that's one thing I like about her being different. But it's also, she's still tied to Kachiko though. It could have been any other woman or any other man. I have a feeling that her husband's probably from the Fox clan, since he's going to talk to Yoritomo. He's probably going to be a Fox spirit.
One of the big things people liked.
Yeah, I think that was what a lot of people liked the most. That was another little difference that I appreciated too, was that the Yoritomo were actually raiding the Crane clan, because in the clan war they were allies. They were basically mercenaries who basically helped defend the Crane land with Crane gold. Yeah,
I've seen a lot of speculation on, because he's just some pirate, I guess, or at least from, as she put it, and not already a minor clan, which they would have been at this point. Maybe his entire goal now is just to become a minor clan and not a great clan. That would probably piss off a lot of people.
Maybe he just likes being a pirate. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he wants to be a bandit lord. We'll see, I guess. But
yeah, I think they're gonna keep it a very similar story for the first bit, for like new people and
for comfort for the
really happen in these fictions, because they've already got a fiction that probably that's going to be a brief overview of all of this in the main game.
It just feels a bit. I mean, it feels sort of pandering to me a little bit.
They're walking a fine line, because I've seen complaints on both sides that it's too samey and too different, or like, people want it to be the same and people want it to be different on different sides.
Well, I know you two were basically like weren't you guys don't know a whole lot about like the clan war setting, right?
Yeah, the little I've read, I haven't retained much of.
Actually, the clan war is the one area that I know the most.
Okay, well there you go.
because the books, the fiction books that came out chronicled the clan wars.
Yep.
So that's actually most of where my knowledge lies as far as L5R history goes, up until Ivory, anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I think part of it too is it really does need to be not the same, but I feel like it does need to be at least a little more samey than what their ultimate goal of difference is going to be, if that makes sense. And because there's so much difference of the mechanics to the card game, they need something that's going to be a bit of a familiar safety blanket, so to say, to the old players of the IP.
Yeah, I think I'm just speaking.
So as long as it's similar enough,
Yeah, I think I'm just speaking from like the zeitgeist of the end of the AG era, when basically the game was huge, like right when the CCG came out, and it just declined over time.
Yeah.
So I think they're wanting to appeal to like the old boy kind of the people who I think over glorify the Clan War era and like hold it up on this pedestal. And like, I mean, I love the Clan War era and all those personalities, but because I was introduced to L5R through the RPG, and it was through a campaign set in the Clan War. So, you know, I hold a lot of nostalgia for that era and for those characters. It seems kind of like a transparent appeal to kind of grab people like me who have a nostalgia for that era. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, yeah, that's exactly what I was meaning. Like
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's
they have the luxury of drawing on successes of the last 20 years by redoing it too.
Sure. Whereas AEG, it would have been weird for them to go back, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It makes more sense.
Even the story prizes could drastically change. I mean,
I think
they said they're not going to be as into it as AEG was, right? But everyone's already assuming that the Emerald Champion's going to be the first prize.
And that could be somewhere that it deviates. A lot of these probably early fictions aren't really going to like completely, like I'm not going to completely moon over them. Probably because they're going to be probably a lot of, here's the same characters we kind of have. It's the people you know. We're going to hint at maybe different things to come, but not give it to you. But then once the game comes out, it'll probably start deviating more. That's what I'm hoping. But I'm still kind of tepid right now. I'm a bit lukewarm on the fiction of it.
If they do end up doing ones based on the clan champions, who are the unicorn's a completely different person, right? Or
yes.
Shinjo
Alternasa.
Right, not even like a different version of someone. But the lion champion is also like someone who wasn't alive at the original one, or when it started, I think, or something. So
I can't remember if he was card or not. I don't think he was.
No, I don't think
I think he was actually dead when it started. Yeah. So.
Right. So I mean, I assume the lion story will be him interacting with.
I just hope he doesn't die, because Satsume died too, and it drove a lot of the plot forward. And the clan war. Yeah, Totori. Yeah. So I hope that Arso doesn't die at Toshirambo again. I hope maybe we'll get a little bit different stuff if Yakumo and Hitomi still have a rivalry. Maybe we'll see some different stuff there. I hope the Phoenix don't just die. I think he was killed in the Scorpion Clan coup by Shoju.
Oh, okay.
No, he died sometime in... Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he did get... Yeah, he was dueling Shoju and died, and then that's why Hattori leads the charge and kills Dairut. That's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, we already have his death triggering off something, like possibly different stuff, I guess, depending on where they go with it. Now he's already dead before Inception.
Apparently, according to the wiki, there was different accounts of how Satsume died. He was either severely wounded by a scorpion in the belly during the third day of the Scorpion coup, or assassinated in his sleep by Agent Sakachiko.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm hoping that Scorpion weren't the ones who were directly the reason.
Yeah, and that would be a nice deviation that I like.
I also don't think that regardless of what happens, and even if the Scorpion do plan a coup, I don't think anyone's getting exiled. I don't think that'll be a punishment we really ever see, because, like,
you don't want to alienate some of the fan base, right?
And they're already in the core set, and so
they weren't like an add-on. Whereas before, the coup was kind of like, I believe it was part of the backstory. They just eventually did a set about it that had some of the Scorpion personalities. Scorpion weren't playable right when the game started.
I know that much, that Scorpion weren't originally playable.
Yeah, that's one thing that I hope they deviate from. And maybe it would kind of give Hotaru's and Kachiko's relationship a different dynamic. Because it's already going to be kind of different, right? She's a bit more innocent and naive than Hotaru is.
Yeah.
Hotaru's more the womanizer, devil-may-care guy.
It comes across like she's kind of she could easily be getting played by Kachiko.
That's something else I'd like to see, too, maybe.
Yeah.
To kind of establish Kachiko as this puppet master kind of
maybe she was ordered to get close to Hotaru.
By her husband. It could be. Right. That would be a cool twist, right?
And maybe then she fell for her because,
that's
twists
something else
conflicts.
You could do. Well, but I mean, that in and of itself is exactly what happened, though, because she did get close to Hattori initially because Shoju told her to, and then she fell in love with Hattori.
They played their little cat and mouse, hand each other stones games and stuff. So... Again, I'm a bit tepidly optimistic, I guess.
Yeah. I like it, but I don't have any of the connection like you do.
Yeah, I like the fiction itself. I just want. I'm looking more forward to how it's different, because that's going to really prove. That's going to prove to me why they thought it was a good idea to go back in the first place, right? Because otherwise, why go back in the first place if you're not trying to appeal to people's nostalgia?
Yeah. Oh
So-
yeah, that's definitely part of it. Also, it lets them be about samurai, right? It lets them wipe away all the other enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you could have
Don't have
done
to worry
that with
about
like a
anything
time
with-
skip, right?
I mean, unless you have some resolution, the lying darkness and the nothing and all that are still there.
You still have the colonies. You still have
Even
all
go
these
back
other
before that. They
This
could
is
have done
just
that.
an easier way, but it gives something people know.
Yeah, it gives the player base something to latch onto for the people returning.
Yeah, I know. It just still feels transparent to me. I don't know.
I mean, it kind of is. I think
Yeah.
that's the point, though.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, if people
I don't
can
think
see it,
they've-
then it should turn them off. Like it does
Why?
me a little bit. I mean, like if you can see the FFG, like the main reason they want to do it is just to get people to buy it because they love the clan war.
I mean,
Instead of them
it's
wanting to tell a
they
different
probably
story.
Look at it and go, "This is like probably the best." They probably weighed the different options and said this one
Yeah.
has the most pros. That is definitely a big pro, though. Is like appealing to
Well,
nostalgia. You
And
say
here's
all the
other-
time. You're like, you have a hard on for nostalgia.
Well, so and here's the other thing. At least for me, the way I feel is there's this aspect of, wow, FFG looked into it and they're listening to the players who are saying we love the clan war era. So even though it does feel pandering, it also feels like they're kind of setting the base a little bit for, okay, we're going to see what the players like and we're going to play into what the players like. If that makes
You
sense.
also have to understand that companies just exist to make money,
Yeah,
right?
that's it too.
Oh, I
Like,
know.
there's no reason for them to exist other than that. Basically, if they can't make money, they can't exist.
I'd appreciate if they lie to me a little bit when they try to get the money out of my wallet, though.
I
maybe
prefer more
maybe
honesty.
I'm different. Maybe
I don't
I'm
really
different.
care about pandering as long as you're honest about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because, so be honest about it, or be really, really well in the shadows about it. Don't half-ass your lying. I think it's maybe more the thing for me.
So yeah, I just
be
want
honest
to.
about it.
I just want to see how it differs.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
excited.
don't tell me the same story over again with slightly different characters.
Yeah.
I want to see
I
it
don't think
take
they-
a
I
hard
don't
left
think they
turn.
will. I think it's gonna be it might be a slow, like get everyone acclimated and then ramp it up though.
And I hope you're right, Mel. I really hope you're right.
Telling the same story is just kind of bad.
Yeah,
No,
I'm just being honest and putting my trepidation out there.
Yeah.
Let's get on to Tetsuo's topic.
Day is we record on Thursdays, and so this Thursday, I'm sure everybody who plays Destiny is well aware, they did the first gameplay reveal for Destiny 2. It was about an hour long. They had some like pre-show stuff, but there was a lot of information they gave us. They showed us a lot of things. There's some sizable changes happening. And I think most of them are for the best. I didn't really see anything that I was put off about, and as far as some of the changes that they're doing to the mechanics, to the story, I feel like they've looked at what the player base has complained about in Destiny 1, and they're addressing those issues. I feel
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've seen a lot of people complain it's too much the same, but I don't know.
That's
what
the
people
stuff I
want.
saw.
Well, but I mean, but it's.
I don't know.
I guess the
People are
thing
like,
too
"We
is
love
it's not
Destiny.
a reboot.
Why is this the same game?
But it's. I think the other thing is like you got to remember this is not a reboot. This is not L5R. This is a sequel. So
Yeah. Oh, I don't have any complaints.
I know. Yeah. No, I know you. I know you're on board. I'm not explaining to you specifically.
I
So
don't know.
explain to me, because I don't know anything about Destiny. So what is Destiny 2?
Okay, so Destiny 2 is a sequel. It is Chapter 2 of the story of the Guardians, the protectors of humanity on Earth after the Traveler came, bestowed light upon us, and gave us. There was a technology explosion. People were able to develop essentially space magic from this giant orb, and then after a few centuries of this, the darkness came. Different races came to Earth to either destroy the light or to steal it for themselves.
All right, what kind of game is
And
it?
Destiny 1, an MMO first-person shooter, technically speaking.
Yeah, MMO-ish.
Yeah,
MMO-ish.
massively
It
multiplayer
has-
first-person shooter, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's MMO in the sense that there is a lot of people playing it at any given time. It's not MMO in the sense of your traditional MMORPGs. It does have some RPG aspects to it, but I would
you level
call
up
it abilities. You can choose which abilities you want to use when you level up. There's classes and subclasses.
They have
Races
roles
that
and
don't
stuff,
mean
right?
anything.
Say again?
Do they have roles and your classes and all that good stuff, or their builds?
Yeah,
Sort of.
there are builds. Like if you're running a raid, people will be like, you should have like, these classes running this build and stuff. Running
so
this. But it's not the traditional 3 tank, healer, and DPS.
Gotcha.
In very, very, very broad sweeps, if you're looking at just the abilities, the Titan is kind of your tank. The 3 quote-unquote stats that they do have are armor, agility, and recovery. Recovery is how fast your shields come back. Are kind of your tanks. They tend to excel in armor. Your hunter is a little bit more your roguelike. Agilities where they're at. They may not have the armor to soak the damage, but they're going to try to just GTFO anyway. And then warlocks
Titans are faster though.
Yeah, Titans technically are faster. Warlocks technically can get more armor. So, but again, it goes back to those optimizing.
Well, not anymore. They used to, but they fixed that a while ago.
I don't play Titan in Warlock. I am a hunter main, and my clanmates make plenty fun of me for playing the hunter.
Now you get to be a pole dancer.
It's true. Get to swing my pole. Anyway, in this, within each class, you have 3 major elements. You have solar, which is fire, arc, which is electricity, and void, which is kind of think void from L5R or any other just esoteric energy, the darkness between stars, however you want to describe it. Subclass that focuses on one of those 3 elements. And so based off of those subclasses, and then it is a loot game, so you usually go through and you're killing everything to see what loot you can get, to get better loot, so that way you can kill bigger things, to get better loot, to kill bigger things, etc., etc.
All about the progression.
Exactly. I mean, what game isn't? What guns you're using and what subclasses you have the different builds. So again, you can easily build a hunter who is all around being a tank. You can easily build a Titan who's more about DPS, etc., etc.
It's just more of the skills and stuff you take, or what stats you prioritize.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And part of it too is that all of the guns are available to all types. Because you're a Titan doesn't mean you're locked into, assault rifles. You can run around with a sniper rifle if you want. Well, that's a different gun class, but you're not locked into gun type or weapon type, so to say. You can use whatever you want, which again aids in that whole. There isn't necessarily a hard and fast roles. Where more comes into play, they do have raids for end game content, and so you might have somebody. You'll have hey, who wants to spec out for crowd control? Who wants to spec out for DPS? Who wants to be our threat pool? Et cetera, et cetera.
So what's Destiny 2 doing that's different from 1?
Well, so they're adding lots of things. First and foremost, cosmetically, they are adding new guns. They're adding new armor, not only in ability but also in look, which is something you'd expect. New ships and sparrows, which I thought that was interesting. So to explain ships and sparrows, sparrows are a land speeder essentially to help you get around on the ground really fast, because some of the areas can be pretty big. They can be close to not quite open world, but sort of open world. But when you go, so there's a few different planets you can go to. And so whenever you're transferring planets, you would then go to a loading screen that would show you in whatever ship you're wanting to pilot in. So there's a little bit of customization of the loading screen. But one of the changes that they're doing, and this is the first change that I was really happy about, is that you now no longer are going to have to go to orbit in order to change what planet you're on. Because it used to be you would go to orbit, and then you'd have to enter in and then choose what activity you'd want, and then it would load into the activity. And then when you complete that, go to orbit again before you choose your next activity. Now you can choose your activity while still on planet after completing the one you just did. You don't have to wait to load into orbit and wait for it to load up and go to this different option screen. You can just go straight to it. Some of the guns they've changed. It looks like they've added a couple new gun types. We don't 100%.
I know they've introduced grenade launcher.
Yeah, there was a grenade launcher. There was what appeared to be some SMGs. It was one used by one.
They switched up how they're doing guns.
Yeah, and so it used to be you had a primary, a special, and a heavy. So like your primaries were your assault rifles, your scout rifles, your hand cannons, that kind of stuff. Your specials were sniper rifles, fusion rifles, which essentially were like you would charge it up and then it would fire a whole bunch of bolts of plasma. And then your heavy weapons would be things like rocket launchers and giant machine guns, LMG type style machine guns. Now what they're doing,
you get a kinetic, an energy, and a power.
That was it, yeah. And so, like, you might have a assault rifle that fires bullets, and then another assault rifle that's going to fire energy. So you could be running around with 2 assault rifles if you want now, rather than, because before it was primary, so you could only carry one. Now you'll be able to wield both as you see fit, and be able to hot swap.
And then, yeah, it seems like most of the special weapons are now power weapons, fusion and sniper rifle. It doesn't mention shotguns. They didn't mention shotguns, though, so I don't know if that will actually be a power weapon or just a normal weapon.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of the kinetic and energy stuff, I think, comes down to, like, what... Like, I can imagine...
Well, they had energy versions of every gun before, or, like, every type of gun before, so that's all it is, I think.
In the original game, you actually had different gun manufacturers. So you would have, like, Amalon and Hake and Suros, and it was really in-depth how they designed the guns.
For the most part, it was just how they looked before, although in year 2, they started adding more.
Well, but Amalon almost always used energy, at least around their projectiles, for a while. I could imagine that factoring into what guns are kinetic and what guns are going to be energy. It may not be the same companies that we...
Sure.
I
yeah.
can see it factoring in.
Right. Originally I was just talking about types of weapons, because I don't know if shotgun's going to be a power or not.
Well, and I was going to say it'd either be power or kinetic, because I don't quite know how you're going to do an energy shotgun, although
I mean, there are
would be
plenty
cool.
already. Most shotguns, or I think all shotguns are energy, or they all have an energy type associated with them. It's like all special ones.
No, I thought energy was implying that it was like laser, like optical weapon versus
I think it's just
weapon.
that it has an energy type of of damage modifier.
Oh. Well, I guess that's one of the things we'll see, because they didn't clarify. They didn't go into that.
But because after year 2, they basically got rid of all elemental primaries. So now now you can have them again. It's basically what I got out of it.
That'd be cool. I think I like that more. Hopefully that is what they did. One of the other things that everybody have been really excited to hear about, and Mao kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, they revealed the 3 new subclasses or 3 of the new subclasses. Warlock is getting a solar subclass called the Dawnblade. It summons a flaming sword that when they swing it, it like flashes.
Yeah, it kind of gives them wings, so they can fly. They can kind of like almost fly around, like big jumps or something.
Yeah, and then they can like slash from a distance. Think Break from Cloud Strife. Wasn't there one, like, there's one...
Sure.
Yeah, anyway.
There's one that shoots out energy.
Yeah, similar to that. Getting a void-based one called the Sentinel.
Yeah.
And he runs around with a void shield.
Titans are now Captain America.
Yeah, that was very much the feel I got. It looked really interesting, and so... In the raids, they would have different mechanics that they would introduce, and one of them was this Aegis shield in the Vault of Glass, the first raid. And I'm wondering if they're going to incorporate parts of the Aegis shield into the Sentinel.
Yeah, I think they said it can be used for melee defense or range throw.
Yeah, so that'd be interesting. And then the Hunter is getting an arc style called the Arc Strider, which gives them a lightning staff that they get to run around and smack people with.
Yeah, and then everyone has now determined that their name is now, because it used to be they were lightning dancers, so now they're pole dancers.
Blade dancer.
Or blade dancers, right, yeah. So now they're pole dancers.
I did find it interesting how all 3 of the new subclasses are melee-oriented.
Well, I mean, you have a sword,
range.
but you shoot out, like, almost all the stuff they showed were shooting out stuff.
Right. Well, and then like we know that the shield can be used at range, and we saw too the staff being hit on the ground and sending out electrical shockwave.
Yeah, I think I think I also saw, based on some other stuff, because they let people go and play it that were local. I think all supers now are just going to be a roaming super with some utility. Because now Fist of Havoc is a roaming super that lets you do multiple jumps. Before it was just you did one big jump, shot out a shockwave. Now you get to run around and do a couple, I guess.
I'm hoping that they toned it down in that case, because...
I'm sure they have.
Yeah, because the balance on that, it feels like that might be...
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to balance it.
Now, what do you mean by roaming super? I mean,
Well, that's
I know what you mean.
roaming super is just when you can move around and use your super, as opposed to before Warlocks could shoot off one ball and then Titans could do one jump. Now, whatever their supers are going to be will allow them to actually move around and probably get more than one possible area kill.
similar to the golden gun for the.
I mean, people were saying that the new Dawn blade is basically the fire subclass for Titan because they just threw hammers and could swing them, but for the most part, you just threw them.
But all three of them look interesting. All three of them look fun.
They redid the UI. It looks nice. The whole game looks pretty.
Yeah. The UI, everything looks like it's in the same place, but I like what they've done with it. Like, they look just different enough where you feel like you're playing something shiny and new. It's still familiar. Everything's still where you're used to them to be, I guess.
Yeah.
So does it feel more like an expansion or like an actual sequel to you guys? Like, are they doing enough different, or is it very the same?
They haven't really shown quite enough, I think, to make that call.
Yeah. Well, the feel that I got, and I know, Obs, you're not really big on first-person shooters, but
I'd like to play them, I just can't.
Yeah. So far, the feel that I've gotten is very similar to Halo 1 to Halo 2, or 2 to 3, or 3 to 4, etc., where they kind of upgrade some stuff, but it's still the core basic gameplay. It's just a further story. They
really refined the game, I think.
Yeah.
And they're going more. They're doing the story better, I think, is their goal. Because Day One Destiny is considered to have a crap story, basically, and now they're going further in on it with more cinematics and just a bigger focus on storytelling.
I think they really learned first from House of Wolves, and then The Taken King. Like, that was when they started really doing cinematics and character interactions on the missions.
Yeah. They learned that people like Nathan Fillion. So they're giving you more Nathan Fillion.
That's definitely true. Nathan Fillion plays the head hunter in the Vanguard. The Vanguard is the collective guardian, and he is like the head of the hunters. He's Nathan Fillion. It's pretty much if you were to take Malcolm Reynolds, throw him in a robot suit, and that's who he is. They're very much playing. Yeah, it works. I mean, it works well, but
yeah, I don't think you mentioned, but the story is that previously humanity was all holed up in one last city, the last city on Earth, and one of the aliens, the Cabal, have showed up at the start of Destiny 2 and basically destroy all that, and humanity is really on life support now, and the big three, the leaders of the Vanguard, are now have scattered across the solar system, and so that's kind of a big part of the story, is I think getting them back.
Yep. You actually do get to start off playing as the attack on the
they showed off the first part of the first mission.
Yeah, so that looked really interesting. I was really happy to see that Sweeperbot was still there.
Then he gets wrecked. That's my character's sole goal, is to avenge Sweeperbot.
So they did show two new Cabal subtypes as well. They showed the dogs, and I think they called them gladiators.
I don't know.
These the enemies.
They're a race of war-focused, like giant rhino toads, is what I think.
Turtles.
Call them. Or rhino turtles. But they're huge. They one of the things that's said about them is just that they have no problem blowing up moons and planets for just being in their way. To give you an idea of their mentality.
I guess they're probably based on Romans. I guess, I don't know. Like they basically want to go out and conquer and grow their empire. They're not allowed. The people they send out aren't allowed to come back unless they win.
Yeah. As I said, we saw the dogs, and then we also saw the gladiators, which seem to be dual-wielding, like, giant butcher knife swords looking things. So that's interesting, because for the most part, they're a very based army. So for them to have this sudden melee-based
I think they had to expand, since they're going to take the main role of the story, probably. Yeah. Since they were so little of them was done with the first game. All the expansions were of the other races, basically.
But then, so like you were saying, the way that they described it is we're going to go to the edge of the solar system and back in the story before, the basic game.
One of the planetoids is in between, Neptune and Pluto?
Yeah, something like that. So we're going to go to the planetoid, what was it called, like Nessus or something like that?
Yeah.
It's going to be mostly Vex enemies, again, one of the other armies. The Vex
time-traveling robot.
Yeah, they're literally time-traveling robots. They have ontological weaponry. So the Vex are really interesting in story, but they kind of really stole the show, at least in vanilla Destiny, for what little story there was.
Yeah, they were definitely the main focus because they were leading up to the first raid, which was about
exactly.
them.
And then so after that, we got Fallen at one point were a chosen race of the Traveler before the Traveler came to humanity, and then the Traveler just left them. And so they're kind of fighting humans to take back the Traveler because they're like, that's ours, and even though it left us, like, we want it still. Because the Traveler is sentient, even though it's this giant orb, it's still this sentient being, I guess, entity. And then we had the Hive. The Hive were the most in-depth story at the moment, but it's kind of hard to just basically describe them.
Sort of.
Yeah. But they, for the most part, are... I don't really know how exactly to describe them in a short sentence.
They're just evil.
Yeah.
Mindless, kind of. Or at least they come across like their base enemies are kind of almost like zombie types. At least like mentality. They don't look like it necessarily.
If you're familiar
with chitinous.
Yeah, if you're familiar with Warhammer 40k, their very basic units are very similar to Gene Stealers in look and how they rush at you with giant claws. I feel like, anyway. I might be a little bit wrong, but then the Cabal now are on stage, and so what's happening is not only are they destroying the tower, but they're stealing the Traveler, because this new big bad, his name is Gaul, believes that the Cabal should be the chosen of the Traveler. We never really knew why the Cabal were here, so now that we know that they too are wanting to take the Traveler, but they've never been chosen by the Traveler ever, as opposed to the way the Fallen at one point were. Other big changes, cut down to 4v4 across all play modes, so no more of the 6v6 maps. I
hope we get some 8v8.
Yeah, I do too.
We'll see.
Also said that there's a new mode called Countdown, which is going to be an attack-defend mode. I'm guessing kind of playing off the success of Overwatch's version of it.
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, I know it exists elsewhere, but they probably want something that's
there's
able
only
to
so many
compete
modes
with Overwatch specifically. Exactly. I mean, the last one that they added, Rift, was interesting.
No, Supremacy. That was kill confirmed from Call of Duty, basically.
Rift felt a little different, though.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying the last added one.
Yeah, my point was more just saying that Rift was more original, but everything else is, stuff you've seen before.
Well, I mean, it was kind of just like, what was the game? They had one in Halo that was kind of like it. You just carried a ball to a point, basically.
All right. Clans are now officially supported in game. It used to be you could make a clan, but it didn't do much besides pretty much give you a little mark on your.
It was an extra friendly list, basically.
Pretty much. But now what it's going to do, you're going to be able to connect with your friends in game. They're going to be able to make custom banners. They're talking about there will be rewards for doing things that will be shared across.
Going in on the community aspect in Destiny 2 as well is a big push.
Yeah, and it looks like they're doing it right too. Like, because before, one of the big problems was if you didn't have friends to play with in some of the end game content, because they always said that the end game content was so difficult, you really needed a fire team that was going to be good communication and all that.
Well, they didn't want people just getting really angry at the other randos they paired up with after spending 3 hours on a raid or whatever.
Right. But what that ended up doing was if you wanted to do these things and you didn't have the friends to play it, or you guys were having difficulty getting together at the same time, or whatever, you ended up having to go to like websites and say, hey, I'm going to be on at this time, does anybody want to play? And you had to use a lot of third-party websites, and players didn't really like that. So it was one of the big things that they constantly clamored for was matchmaking within raids. So now they've introduced what's called guided games, and what it does is that the three big end game content areas, raids, the Nightfalls, and which were missions that were really difficult, and the Trials of Osiris, which was the highly, highly competitive PvP mode. Now you can jump on there, and if you don't have a full fire team, it'll find a clan who has...
You can browse clans and choose to
and
pair up with these guys or something.
Right, and so then you could now play, with these people who are matched up with the same amount. And who knows, maybe you'll end up joining that clan later, or whatever the case is. good because it was something that it
they said-
needed, but like a
That
lot
only
of
50% of people ever actually did any of the end game like raids, and
they just mentioned raids.
yeah,
But,
so they want to make that more available to everyone. Obviously.
So introducing this guided games, I think, is a good like kind of middle ground because it still allows you like the way that they worded it. And I might be wrong, maybe I am, but the way that they worded it, it made it sound like you could try to do raids as like only 4 of you, or you can go into it as guided games to match up with people to get your full 6-man fire team.
Well, I'm sure you could go with however many you want.
Yeah.
You could go with 1, I'm sure, and they'll probably like one of the scenarios where like you have 5 of your people together. So I think 6-man fire teams is still a thing, but
regardless, it's something that's definitely been asked for by the community multiple times, and the fact that they're now putting it in there is good. Let's see. What else am I missing? And as far as new content officially goes, I think that for the most part, that's it. Oh, no, patrols. There's more to do in them. Patrols were kind of your open world aspect of the MMO. You could go out and just run around and kill things or pick up side missions from these patrol beacons here and there. But there wasn't a whole heck of a lot of stuff to do whenever you went on patrols. And now they're introducing, in addition to those, things that they're calling adventures, treasure maps, and lost sectors. Adventures are more side mission-y. You know, you'll see people and they might need help defending like a tower or a town or something.
Yeah, now they have actual NPCs around the
world itself.
Yeah, the world like where you go and do these fight people. Before you didn't have that. You only had NPCs in your social hubs. So that's a nice change.
And then too, it looks like they're going to be fighting with you, which is also nice. Kind of going back to Halo, back when you had the Marines. You know, I'm sure to a degree they're going to be just as useful as the Marines were. Still, it's nice. It's nice to have more bodies on the field, I guess. Yeah. So the adventures, you had the treasure maps, which are going to be like they're going to like give you clues to go to like a step to a step to a step, and eventually you'll find a boss. When you beat him, you'll get a key to a giant treasure cache. So that sounds fun. And then lost sectors are kind of, I don't know. The way that they described it made me think of, you know how in open world games, sometimes they'll give you incentives to explore the map more and like color in all the gray areas?
Yep. Not Pathfinder. What was it? Guild Wars? Yes, that's the MMO, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Guild Wars 2 had like exploration type missions.
Yeah. Okay. So this is going to fill that role. So it like you get bonuses for going and finding these hidden areas. With treasure and loot and all kinds of goodies. And that's all of the stuff that they really gave us that's new. Besides letting us see the myriad of new designs for the guns and armor and stuff, which for the most part the aesthetic looked really good. Like I am digging the aesthetic. One of the guns, because Mao, I think you said you were just listening to it, right? You didn't get to really watch it.
On and off.
Okay. So one of the guns that they showed, do you remember in the Rise of Iron, the strike where there's the ogre who's being experimented on by the Fallen? So remember the gun that the boss has?
Yeah.
And do you remember so there was early on in Rise of Iron's life, data miners found for that gun, but the gun never made its way into the game for players. Well, it looked like there was a player running with that gun. The gun definitely looked like it.
It just kind of fired. It was like a Gatling gun type fire almost.
Yeah, but it was energy from the ogre's eyes. But that was interesting. I saw that and I was like, oh, cool. I hope that it is that because I feel like that'd be fun to play with and a nice tie back to the first game.
All this is
but
so
overall,
over my
the
head.
aesthetic.
Yeah, I liked everything I saw. It looks like fun. beta still only said summer. They didn't give a date on it, unfortunately, but I'll probably pre-order it and get in the beta.
Yep. So, and that was where I was going to go to wrap this up. Destiny 2 goes live September 8th. If you pre-order now, you get instant access to the beta. There is going to be people who get into it without pre-ordering, similar to how other games do it, but I think it's all based off of how many beta applicants they get just from pre-orders, which I imagine is going to be a large number, at least from the old players.
But Destiny, isn't that game dead? I think
hear that all the time.
Yeah, the stream peaked at, I think, 426,000 viewers, or around there.
Oh, wow. That's a lot less than I was thinking it was going to be.
500,000 is not good enough?
Well, but I don't know. I was expecting.
That's a lot of viewers for Twitch.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah, big tournaments only get like 100K. Street Fighter and stuff. I don't know about like CSO Go.
It's a lot of people.
Other stuff.
Yeah, I guess it really is. I don't know. For some reason in my head, I was thinking it was going to be bigger, but then again, I also am really bad at estimating things, which this falls under that. So you can just discount everything I just said. It's okay. 2 is going to be available on PC. It used to just be on PS4 and Xbox One and PS3 and Xbox 360. Now it's going to be on PC. They are still keeping to, there's going to be PlayStation 4 exclusives, so PS4 gets things a few months before everybody else.
And I play on PS4.
I don't know. I get why they're doing it.
Yeah, I get that it doesn't exist. Like the things you get only exist because PlayStation's paying for them, but it still like sucks to keep them for a year separate or whatever.
It's an unfair thing, but again too, like a lot of it, nothing's really necessarily like game breaking in that regard. Most of it is there's a couple guns, but most of it's like maps and stuff. But it's not fair. Exactly.
You don't like to not be able to get certain things. Like you're the most collector out of all of us, I think.
I very much am.
I denied that.
Trying to finish my Sparrow collection before Destiny 2 drops, just because.
Yeah, they blow up your vaults. You don't get to keep any of it.
I said just because. I didn't say it made sense. I will say this. I'm very sad that all my ships are going to go. Mal can tell you, the amount of time, effort, and glimmer, the in-game currency that I put towards ships, I am going to be very sad to see my collection of ships go away. But anyway, it's now on PC. It's on PC because of a partnership with Blizzard. It will be available exclusively through Battle.net, Blizzard's own client. So it's not going to be in Steam. It's not going to be on Origin. It's not going to be on anything else.
Activision owns Bungie and Battle.net, so
yeah, it definitely makes sense. It's just I don't know. I find it interesting because like I could see it being on there and then also other places, but for it to only be on there. But at the same time, it makes sense. I'm not a big PC gamer, so maybe I'm just looking at it as a dirty console player. So I'll definitely be playing it on PS4. They are also going to be releasing multiple editions, as is the norm these days. It's going to be $60. They're offering an expansion pass, which is kind of like a season pass, but I think Destiny's always been much more, I think, on point about only having so many expansions in a go, and they've all been very quality. I don't think there's been any that haven't, because they're usually substantial like story expansions.
And the first House of Wolves was really lacking.
Well, yeah, it was, but at the same time,
it didn't even add a raid like the others.
Yeah, but it did add the boss, not boss, Prison of Elders, whatever you want to call that, arena style combat. I thought that was fun.
It was fun. I just don't think it was quite up to the level.
But the way that they're talking about it, because it's only the expansion pass only covers expansions 1 and 2. But the way that it was talking about it in the research I did, it looks like it's going to be the expansions are going to be on the level of Rise of Iron and Taken King.
Yeah, those are the good ones. So
as opposed to the 2 smaller ones that we got in year 1. You can also buy the game and the expansion pass together for $90, which is cheaper than the $95 if you bought the expansion separate. So it's only $5 cheaper.
Yeah,
it's
basically
a deal.
par for the course these days.
Yeah, it's a deal, but it's kind of like, So, if you decide to reserve your mind and do it later, you're not spending that much more by not buying it bundled. And then they have 3 of the, special editions: the Digital Deluxe, the Limited, and the Collectors. With premium digital content, you'll get an extra legendary sword, a legendary emote, and a Cabal Empire-themed emblem for your nameplate. So I mean, you know, you're paying that's $100. So you're paying an extra $40. Well, it also comes with the expansions, the expansion pass. So I guess you're paying an extra $10 to get the sword, the emote, and the emblem. Next level up is the limited edition, and it gives you all of that plus a steelbook case and a Cabal themed collector's box. But I'm assuming it's going to be much more limited in number because it's going to be a physical copy as opposed to the digital. I think is where the difference is going there. And then the big one's the collector's edition. It's $250, but you're going to get plus a bag that fits a 15-inch laptop, and then what's called a Frontier Kit, which looks really interesting. It's going to have a solar panel USB charger, a solar blanket, and paracord. But I'm probably just going to get the standard. That's usually the way I get my games. So.
All right, Mal, what's your topic?
So for Mother's Day, my mom came over, and we were just going to go out to dinner, but then she said she wanted to go see the King Arthur movie. So I was like, sure, why not? So we went and saw that too. I hadn't even really seen much about it, but
I didn't even know it was a movie until I went and saw Guardians.
Yeah, and I know we talk about reviews a lot, but this one on Rotten Tomatoes, I think, was around 28. And the other movie that came out this weekend, Alien Covenant, was, when it first came out, it was in like the 70s. But everything I've seen online is like people have been really disappointed with Aliens, and they felt like this movie was way better than they would have thought. So I don't know. It just shows,
like
I guess, how much. Yeah, it shows how much, like, I guess reviews can mess with expectations, or I don't know. Like, people, I guess, expected this to be garbage, and then they were just pleasantly surprised when it wasn't. Yeah, it was pretty good, I guess. I liked it, but I like Guy Ritchie movies because it's by Guy Ritchie about King Arthur. Guy Ritchie did Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, and then the Robert Downey Sherlock Holmes movies, and A Man from U.N.C.L.E. is his other most recent one. I like all those movies a lot.
So what part of the mythos is this?
It's basically how he comes to power and becomes king and whatnot. It's the origin story, basically. It starts with Uther Pendragon, his father, defending against an evil mage Mordred. So it's not really necessarily following it like the original stuff.
Yeah,
kind of its own mythos.
Yeah, it's just borrowing. I mean, there have been quite a few versions in the almost 1,000 years he's been around.
Oh, yeah.
Uther defeats Mordred with the power of Excalibur. And basically, after that, his brother tries to overthrow him and ends up dying, and only Arthur escapes with him being sent Moses style down a river. And he ends up in like the slums, being some women washing clothes find him and in the boat and take him in. I think he grows up in basically like inn/brothel type place in the seedy parts of Londinium is the name of the city, which I think is the name of a city outside of Rome, but I don't think it was ever the name. I don't know if it was ever the name of Londinium.
Yeah, it sounds Latin.
Or London. But yeah, so it then moves on to showing a nice montage of him growing up, basically. Him learning the ropes of the slums and self-defense and whatnot. And then in present day, the story starts off and it goes on to the more fantasy stuff of, there's an evil king, a resistance, a prophecy, and a magic sword. They combine Excalibur and the Sword in the Stone, like most of the modern retellings. So they are two separate swords in the original stuff.
I didn't realize that.
Because the Sword in the Stone is the one he pulls, and then the Lady in the Lake gives him Excalibur at a different time.
I think the Sword in the Stone was his father's sword in the original mythos. I can't remember exactly.
No,
because I know in some like the early stuff, the Lady in the Lake is also the Morrigan, or is the Morrigan, but which is also Morgan Le Fay as you get into Gaelic mythos.
Oh yeah, but the Lady in the Lake in this one is connected to the sword because she's the one who binds it to the Pendragon bloodline, basically. And they also do kind of they have an interesting take on how it gets in the stone. Ties it back to the importance of blood and whatnot, bloodlines in the Arthurian stories. Yeah, so the biggest flaw is its pacing. It could have easily have been 2 movies. and allow everything to kind of breathe. Like, I love the first bit. Like, I think the first part of the movie is way better with him, showing off him in the slums, and then even just
him being slummy sounds more interesting to me. If you're gonna kind of,
it's a very Guy Ritchie thing too. He likes his British gangster type characters.
Yeah.
So there's a prophecy about the son of Uther coming back, taking the sword, and saving everyone basically. So he has everyone of around the right age try and pull the sword and then get branded. And some stuff happens, and they find out he hasn't tried, so he goes, and then sure enough, he can pull it out, and he ends up having to get saved by the resistance. So that's where so he joins up with them, not necessarily willingly though. Arthur's really the only character that gets shown off well, like as far as character development and stuff. They do a good job of painting how he's a leader, like showing him as a leader with the way, like his decisions kind of, and how he acts and how others act around him. But yeah, no one else really shines through as far as like character development. It's just, again, it's too quickly paced.
Yeah,
the acting's. What?
Well, one thing I heard about the film series in general was that they originally wanted to do a trilogy, and then I guess whoever bought I think the writer basically wanted
Warner
to do that.
Brothers,
and then whoever bought the script didn't want to do that.
It definitely felt like they were setting it up for a franchise.
Yeah, so that's probably a reason why. Like, I mean, you were saying the pacing didn't have enough room to breathe. That's probably why you didn't get so much more character development, I would guess.
Yeah. But the acting is well done for pretty much everyone with what they're given, basically. I mean, except for the woman who plays the mage, which she's the only real mage in it. Like, and they have their own kingdom of mages in this.
Isn't Guinevere the mage in this one?
Everywhere except I think Rotten Tomatoes lists her as just the mage, which led me to believe it's either Guinevere or Morgan Le Fay.
Yeah. So there's no like marriage at the end of the movie that lets you know for sure she's Guinevere or anything.
No, they'd never state her name or anything.
And Lancelot isn't in the movie either, is he?
No. It's again like it's all like how it's all there to set up him being king. Like they definitely could do sequels, but everyone else does a good job. So because I don't know if they're trying to play her off as mages or cryptic or different from normal people and whatnot.
Do you know if it did well at the box office this weekend? I'd probably give you a telling sign if it's going to get a sequel or not.
It has a better rating than the Aliens movie at 7.4 currently to 7. Because, again, I think people generally liked it who went and saw it. But I think it's pulled about 50 million worldwide, and it's 175 million budget.
That's not good.
No, it'll probably... I don't know. Eventually, it'll probably eventually clear budget, but maybe... It's not going to be considered a success, I don't think.
Yeah.
Jude Law plays the villain as Vortigern. I'm trying to remember who actually played King Arthur. He was from Band of Brothers, I think. Charlie Hunnam.
Never heard of him.
Or no, Sons of Anarchy. And it was what I guess he was in.
He's like a TV actor, basically.
Kind of. He was in Pacific Rim as a character. I don't remember, but I don't remember any of the characters in Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
What was his name? What was the name?
Raleigh Beckett.
Oh, Raleigh, yeah.
So he did a great job. And then Jude Law as the evil King Vortigern did a great job, but with what he was given again, because he kind of was just like, I'm an evil king who wants more power. So not a lot of motivation there. I don't know. It's a very basic story. But overall, I liked it. It's a fun movie. It had a really good soundtrack, which does a lot for me because of how much I value music.
Yeah.
All things. The world building was cool, and the look, especially at the end, like some magic stuff. I don't know how to quite describe it. Just some of some stuff you could see with creatures and stuff. It looked really cool. The main town, Londinium, and the salute of the bad guys. They showed off Roman influences, which makes sense for the time Arthur's supposed to be alive because it's just past Roman occupation of Britain.
Yeah.
And Vortigern's building a tower that was having difficulties. So things like that show off, like they definitely did the research and then blatantly chose to go a different way. Because in original mythos, Vortigern is trying to build a tower and it keeps sinking every day into or at the end of every day. And they're like, let's kill this guy. And spill his blood on the ground. That should help. And that guy ends up being Merlin. But they don't. Merlin's not in this movie except in a background.
I want them to one day adapt. One of my favorite books is The Once and Future King. It's basically the whole kind of Arthur legend across 4 parts of, I think it was 4 different books at one point in T.H. Watt, I believe. And the first part is what the Disney Sword in the Stone movie is kind of based off of.
Right.
And it's just my favorite because Arthur's like the main character in the first part of the book and kind of like the last book. And he doesn't even really matter for the rest of it. It more focuses on Lancelot, and Lancelot normally is kind of like a pretty boy swordsman. He's like the perfect French knight.
He's like the purest knight, right? I think.
Yeah,
no, that's Galahad.
And the Once and Future King, yeah, it's Lancelot's son. And Once and Future King, he's like ugly and deformed, and he's like not confident in his ability at all. But he has the whole romance with Guinevere, and she sees something in him. And a lot of the book is about him kind of like trying to find out what makes him a hero. It's really interesting. I'd love for that.
So you really want a Lancelot movie?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Arthur stuff too because he's basically he's Lancelot's best friend and he's just oblivious to everything that's going on. Like with Guinevere, he's super concerned about like doing the best thing for Britain, and he messes up a lot because obviously he has the bastard son with it's his relative. I think it's like his half-sister. And the last book is all about him having to deal with the consequences of his failure, so he has to fight against his bastard son. It's what ends up eventually causing his death. Yeah, and kind of like the stuff with Lancelot and all this stuff. So it's just really good. Right. It's something that would really do well as like a mini series or like a set of movies.
Yeah, that's a big book. I had to read it in high school.
Yeah,
lots there.
But I don't. The making Arthur like growing up instead of having like Merlin teaching him, having being like a scallywag ruffian, like slumming on the streets, is an interesting take, at least.
Yeah, I really liked it, but again, I like Guy Ritchie movies, and the visuals really cool. I'm glad I saw it on the big screen. I'd recommend it to someone, like if they wanted something fun and pretty to watch, but the story's nothing special. So
I'll probably wait till it comes out.
Yeah, if you like Guy Ritchie's other movies, you'll probably enjoy this one.
That's been episode 10 of Podcast of 5 Rings, your source of enlightenment in the realm of video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast of 5 Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and Soundcloud, and now topic by topic, day by day on YouTube, with the full video releasing on Fridays. Check us out on social media. We're at twitter.com/podcast5r, Facebook at P5R Podcast. We have our YouTube URL now, which is just /podcast of 5 Rings. And be sure to check out Meta and his stream on Twitch again whenever he's feeling well. But that's it for this week. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
See you.